TAG in Illinois asks the fundamental question, why is the failure rate so high in final expense? So I think the failure rate is high in all insurance. So when I say the failure rate is 90%, I'm not really necessarily referring to final expense. I'm referring to the insurance business. But why is that? That's still a great question. And I want to tell you some things you probably don't want to hear. And it's the nature of how simple it is to get in. It's easy come, easy go. All you need to be a life insurance agent is to pass an exam, sometimes with a 60%, in many cases with a 70%. Study something for a couple of weeks, and you are now a bona fide life insurance agent. You can sell insurance. It's easy to get into. Okay, it's easier to get than an associate's degree or a high school degree. So when it's easy to get, it's going to attract a lot of people, especially when, yes, the opportunity can yield a six-figure income potential, right? And so what happens when it's too easy is when it's easy to get into, it's easy to leave. And so a lot of people get into it and they realize, well, they don't want to recruit everybody and friends and family. They don't want to do sell the friends and family. They don't want to do the pyramid scheme, right? That's a big thing. The other thing is they realize, like, it's work. It's really hard. You have to actually call people. You have to deal with pushback. But guess what? Nobody wants to buy anything. Nobody wants to buy anything. It's sales. Yeah. They need it, but they don't want to buy it. It's this paradox, right? Wow, it's emotionally a roller coaster. You wake up unemployed. Not to mention, yes, it's not a W-2 position anymore. You are now a business owner. You make straight commission. Some days you're a pigeon. Some days you're the statue. There's a lot that goes on that makes this business a high failure rate. And that's just the beginning. The DIG Agency averages a 4.9 out of 5 rating on Google, and we've recruited more than 6,000 agents since 2013. So if you're looking for an agency to join, whether on a part-time or full-time basis, without the nonsense associated with the multi-level marketing agencies that are so common, then the DIG Agency is where it's at. You can go to daviddufour.com to learn more or click the link below. Then the middle of it is that some people come out of the gate, they do really well, they adhere to the system, and then they're like me, and I'm like, man, I could do better than this. I'm going to mess with the lead. I'm going to come up with my own lead. This is what I did that led to my failure in my first year in the business. I was too smart for this business. I was so smart, I was stupid, and I ended up failing out of the business. Okay, a lot of people do that. Some people can't manage their money well. They get a hit of commission for a couple of thousand, they blow it all, when they should be frugal, not blowing it. Because guess what happens? Chargebacks. You got some chargebacks you got to handle, okay? So the point is that there's a lot that goes into this. And that's why it's very much like businesses. Most of them fail too, and like 90% in the first 5 years. Life insurance or insurance in general is like that. And so what does it take to be successful? And that's really what you should be asking too. As after you ask this question, which is great, what are the elements that make the top 10% successful? First of all, they work hard. And this is all going to be stuff your dad's told you. But, I could be your dad. So I'm going to tell you the same thing. You got to work hard, outwork the other people. All right. I assumed when I got into this business, I was average, that there are a lot better agents out there. And so the first thing I thought was, well, what can I do different that I could actually get an edge on if my skill set wasn't as good as others? Guess what? It was working more, because most people are lazy. They're lazy, especially when it gets hard. It's not that they're lazy. They're discouraged easily. They can't just have the grit to keep going. So I decided, screw that. I'm going to be working harder. And I did. I worked hard. I'm not advocating for this. My wife had twins. I was back to work 2 days later, full time. Okay. After we got married, I was still at the personal training gym. But yeah, you could ask my wife. She probably remembers more than I do about how I worked all the time. But in my mind, I was playing a 5 to 10 year game of I'm going to sacrifice this part of my life because I know with a fact that the end of this in 5 to 10 years is going to be amazing. And I was right. There's no guarantees in life, but it was a risk at the time of my life I was absolutely going to take, and it was worth taking. All right. What else makes someone successful? Short-term amnesia, waking up the following day, not letting yesterday's perils and problems and trials and tribulations bothering them. Being able to separate out what one occurrence with the prospect is, and not letting it bother or affect you on the next one. Always giving your best to every single person you can, understanding that you're the only thing that is the same between them. Just because this guy was an asshole doesn't mean this one will be, okay? You got to give your best game all the time to influence people to buy something they got to die to get, okay? So that was big too. Working hard, having great leads is really important. This is why, the friends and family stuff I don't like as a long-term solution, because you run out of them eventually. If you're lucky to even have friends and family, you run out of them. And then what are you going to do? If you're not taught to how to prospect effectively, it's a very frustrating experience. So having great leads, having a great system to work every day, having influencers in the standpoint of like mentors, people you look up to, very important. Like, for example, for me, John Duggar, early on when I first saw him in the business, reading about his post on the insurance forum, inspired me to get into final expense. And really, it's funny. You get into sales thinking it's about the money, but then really, I think a lot of sales turns into some sort of self-help personal development. It really does. This is why you see a lot of rah-rah with especially the pyramid scheme type organizations, and not just them, really all sales. You see a lot of rah-rah because the enthusiasm component, it's the most subjective thing, but it's the hardest thing to train, but it's also the most impactful. For example, I can take somebody to follow a script, say it word for word, do exactly what I teach, but if they lack the enthusiasm, they will fail. I've had agents do this. Whereas if you take somebody who is unscripted, but they have all the enthusiasm in the world, the excitement, they care about their clients, people will bend over backwards to do business with them, okay? And so the enthusiasm and the energy level is so important too, okay? This is not easy. You have to embrace the fact it's going to be absolutely hard. You may even think like I did. Well, I did quit, but then consider quitting multiple times. I did. But you have to keep going. You have to keep going. And everybody who does, in my experience, makes way more money, lives on the terms that they want, and has a lifestyle that they want. And all agree it was well worth the sacrifice and difficulty early on. I was going to mention something else I forget, also important. Oh, I'm a big advocate of specialization. So one of the problems I see a lot of people get into, it's worse now with social media and everything, is all sorts of opportunities are spun in your face. You got to pick your horse and ride it. Pick the one thing that excites you the most. Final expense, woo! Maybe it's not that. Maybe it's mortgage protection or annuities. Become a master at it. Do everything possible from leads, sales training, etc., to do that one thing as successful as possible. If you try to be a master to everything, a jack of all trades, you're a master to none. And in this day and age, it's difficult. It's very difficult to be successful. It's not easy. And if all you can do is focus on one thing and go deep into that thing, it increases your odds.